Say goodbye to boring centerpieces. Say hello to a stunning tabletop fire feature. And the best part is, you can build one for yourself. Let's start with the supplies you're going to need to bring this fiery centerpiece to life. Welcome back to Timber West Design, where we talk timber, shade structures, and outdoor living. Here are the supplies you're going to need to build this cool fire feature. You'll need some Simmental cement mix. You need a method to mix it in. You need a scale and a mixer to mix that all together. You're going to need a mold that you're going to 3D print. This will make this cool concrete piece. After that, you'll need a pie tin, some sort of mesh to go on top of the pie tin to hold the rocks above. We'll need some primer, some paint. I love this bioethanol fuel. This works really well. As you can see, this is a nice flame. Some spot putty, some sandpaper. You need a way to cut this wire mesh. It's a little bit of a heavier mesh. You'll need some lava rock or some sort of medium to put in here. I like the lava rock. I think it looks good. That'll get you started. Let's get this thing going. So I came up with this bowl design, just a classic shape. I think it looks really nice. This is bigger than my printer can print in the full size, so I need to chop it into fourths. So I have an inner section, that's the fourth, and an outer section, that's the fourth. And then the light blue is the concrete, and it'll just pour in this way. So let's send this off to the printer. It's really fun to see your project that goes from a digital file to an actual 3D printed part, and then soon to be a concrete part gets going. The 3D printer does an amazing job, and it's going to create some fun molds for us. The molds are hot off the press. I've got the inner section, I've got the outer section. So what I'm going to do is bolt together the inner section. Then I'll put the mold release on it, and then we'll put the mold release on the outer section and add it to it, and we'll get to that point. I've got the outer sections with the mold release on. Now it's just lining up the holes, putting the bolts in, and getting this thing put together. The bolts are just hand tightened for now. I'm going to flip this over so I just have better access to this flange up here. We'll get these all tightened up, and then we're going to be ready to pour. I like to put these just loosely together, then tighten it all with the wrench after, just to make sure it all goes together nicely. All the bolts are installed. Now let's just snug them up with the wrench. I don't want it too tight, but snug enough that the gap gets closed. And we'll just go around to this whole thing, make sure everything's ready to go, and then we'll go and mix some concrete. So we want to pour most of the water in. I'm not going to pour all of it in, just depending on the consistency. I want to end up with a pancake batter consistency, so we'll just start mixing and see how it looks, and then we'll pour it in the mold. And slowly pour it in. Make sure it gets down all the way. Okay, I think we're there. So I'll just take a tool here and make sure we're flat. You know what, I'm going to let this set up a little bit, and then I'll come back and tool it some. And we'll get to that point. Once the concrete sets just slightly, it's a little more easy to come in there with a trowel and just kind of get things leveled off and smooth. Any minor imperfections, we can come in with some sandpaper, but we want to get it as close as we can this way. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Pale Blue Batteries. You know, I like nice high-end flashlights, and you know what powers my flashlights? Pale Blue rechargeable batteries. What I like about them is I can take a power bank on the go. There's a USB-C port right on the battery. I can plug it in, charge on the go. Pale Blue batteries, they're awesome. It's been about 3 hours. This is looking nice and cured out. Really, honestly, it takes about 30 days to fully cure, but I can demold in about 3 hours. So let's flip this thing around and have better access to all the bolts, and we'll just start undoing things here, getting everything loosened up, and then we'll start pulling pieces off. All the bolts are off. Now it's time to take the molds off. This is always the most exciting part. See how this looks. These come off very easily. Just pop right off. I don't need to take the middle section apart. It'll just come off in one piece, and there we go. There is our bowl. That is very nice. So what we'll do is we'll let this sit for a day or so. I'll sand all the parting lines, get it ready for primer, and we'll take it to that stage. I'll see you then. The cast turned out pretty well, but there are some flaws, a little bit more than I like, and these are bigger than I want to spot putty. So I've made just a little bit of mix, some cementol concrete mix. I'm just gonna come in here with my tongue depressor and I'll just come and fill these up. And then when this is done, we'll sand the whole thing, get it ready for primer. I've got this primed. There's a few flaws here and there. We're gonna take some spot putty. It's a Bondo brand glazing and spot putty. I can use a glove with a finger, or you could use a putty knife. In this case, we're just gonna take a putty knife and I'll just put it on where it needs some attention. We'll just go around this whole thing, put some putty on it. I'll sand it down with 150 grit sandpaper. I'll prime it one more time and we'll get to that point. I printed this little spacer mold. This is gonna create a lifter for the pie plate. I didn't put that in permanently because that bowl is gonna be versatile and be used for other projects, so I didn't want this to be in permanently. So this will be a separate piece. So what we'll do is we'll spray this with our canola oil and take our brush and just kind of make sure all the surfaces are covered well. And then I'm gonna mix some concrete and then we'll pour it. And there we go. Get this thing leveled off. Sounds good. The bowl is painted, looking good. I like this paint job. So we have this interior section here that's going to hold the pie tin up. So we need to pop this out of the mold. Just gently tap it till it pops out. There we go. So this is just here to lift up the pie tin. So we'll center this. We'll put the pie tin. I got a little bit of a heavier pie tin, not the really thin foil ones. Put that in place. Now, you can either go to the big box store and get like a wire mesh on a roll. I wanted something a little stiffer, so I got one of these cooling racks for baking, and I cut a circle from this. You need some snips that are a little heavier duty snips to cut that, but it's just stiff enough. We're gonna put the rocks on here. I just didn't want it to bow in. So we'll set this in place. So we're gonna put some fuel in the tray. Let's try a little bit more. And then we'll put our decorative lava rock on top. I like the contrast between the white and the red rock. Whoops. And now, the moment of truth, let's light it. Just make a little X section in here. There we go. This is a cool little tabletop fire feature. I'm really gonna enjoy this one. I turned the studio backlights off a little bit so you can see the flame a little bit better. This flame's about up to here. This looks really cool. I'm really enjoying this one. This will be really nice on an outdoor tabletop when you're hanging out in your pavilion, you have your friends over. Big warning, do not put fuel in while there's still a flame going. That would be very dangerous. This needs to be fully out before you restock it with the bioethanol fuel, then you can relight it again. So if you like this video, you want to see more, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. If you want to see and get some of the files for the molds and print your own, go to my website at timberwestdesign.com, and for a small fee you can buy the digital file for the molds and make your own. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.